Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. Today's video is I need to try and finish up working out what I'm going to do with my budget for October, talk you through kind of where I'm sitting at with the budget, wages, income, just a bit of a generalised budget chat while I go ahead and fill in my planner. Talking of the planner orders, those are shipping this week. For those of you that have ordered them, I had to wait for some delivery boxes to arrive because I wasn't happy with the packaging solution that I had. So those are all going out at some point this week. Everyone will get dispatch notifications for those that have gone ahead and ordered. The month for me isn't done, but I know what I'm getting paid. I know what the situation is with regards to wage increase, moving up the pay scale, etc. October is a really long month, and the best thing to do is start with my calendar or proposed calendar for the month itself. So before we do that, even that, I am a teacher in my second year of teaching, and I live and work in rural England, which has its own set of challenges, particularly as we approach the colder months. And whilst my rural challenges are not as bad as some people, they can have an impact, and that's really important to note as we get into winter. I live by myself with the cat, so I'm solely responsible for all income, and I rent privately in a high cost of living area because rural living is not always the cheapest. I'm a talking hands. Hi. And I prefer to keep my anonymity as much as I can because I am a teacher. If you've seen my budget videos throughout September, the month that I'm currently filming this in, I've really tripped myself up, I feel, with having my weeks run Saturday to Friday. And it's such a strange thing. It's because because of my working hours, a lot of activity over the weekend, and I would sit there on a Saturday or a Sunday even, to go and reconcile my budget from the week and realise there's things that I was wanting to account for, and far too many times I was getting myself into a little bit of a pickle. So what I've also decided to take into account is the fact that I run at a negative, and that is because I am subject to a CCJ repayment, court-ordered amount, and my income doesn't cover everything. And October is a busy month. So I'm toying with the idea of basically having the month running from the first Monday of wherever that first week falls. And if that means I've got a couple of days crossover, then I've got a couple of days crossover, all the way to the last Sunday of that last week. And you're going to see this. I think that because I'm going to have to rely so much on extra income, and it is going to have to be very much on me to organise and do, that with the exception of my bulk paydays, I kind of need to go back to running an almost continual recurring budget rather than potentially a new month. I don't know if this is going to work, but I've not been happy with how my organisation has gone for September in terms of reconciling and keeping on track of things, logging when the extra income comes in, etc., and what it's doing when, and a realistic rollover versus something new to try. And if this doesn't work, then I'll try something else in terms of laying out how my month looks in November. But at the minute, my month is starting tomorrow. On Monday the 29th, and it's running all the way to Sunday the 2nd of November. And I'm going to take you through the fact that that means I have a full 5 week month potentially, with 2 paydays plus YouTube plus anything else I bring in, and what's going to happen. I operate on a Monday to Sunday basis. I think it was a bit silly trying to operate on a Saturday to Friday basis, given that all of my social, most of my food shopping and all of that stuff happens over a weekend. And I just was really getting myself in a bit of a pickle when I was trying to reconcile accurately. So at the minute, I have a payday on Tuesday the 30th. I have a parents' open evening on Thursday, which is an extended day. So whilst the school is providing some sort of food, if it is based on last year, it's a sandwich, which for 12 to 13 hours worth of work is not, I feel, adequate, and therefore I will be sorting out something extra. So there's going to be a bit of extra cost there. And then Friday I'm taking a wellbeing day, so I get one paid day off a year, and I've decided to take it the day after because I don't really want to be doing a 13-hour work day and then straight into 3 full lessons of teaching. I'd much rather give myself a 3-day weekend on what is a super long teaching term for me, like halfway through, and just give myself that fire break. So I've got a wellbeing day there, so I'm not working. Then I obviously have Saturday and Sunday with nothing planned at the moment. On the 9th, I've got a conference. As I'm a second year teacher, there are still a couple of extra conferences I have to go to, and that will obviously mean that I will need to pay out additional in terms of public transport, and I will not be able to claim that back or get that money back until the end of the month. Then if we come to the week after, so week 3, I have my rent due on the 17th. That's a big payment, although I do tend to pay it earlier up and around here. And then if we go to the week after that, the lurgy is still lurking. I have an extended half term, and that's something we get at the school kind of trust that I work for. So I get 2 extra days. So therefore my half term runs from the 23rd all the way to the 2nd, if I include the weekends as well. There's a craft fair I'd like to go to on the 26th. There is potentially my tyres are booked in on the 27th. There is the Warner Brothers studio tour, which I'm returning to with sister and cousin, and that has been booked and was sorted out in the summer. And then there is a winter fair going on the 2nd. Now, I've plotted these things in, and whether I go or not, with the exception of obviously Warner Brothers, will be dependent on my financial situation and whether I've been able to adequately cover all of my bills, my core priority debt payments, fed the car, fed the cat, and obviously sorted out, hopefully, tyres on my car if they can get them in on time, because that was the problem we had last time. They hadn't ordered the tyres. So we've had to move it to a week to another holiday date I can do. Now, I am not wedded to this. I would like to see if it works and have essentially a rolling budget. And it might mean, because obviously I've got a payday at the very start and a payday at the very end, that I go ahead and say, there's going to be a really big rollover going into November. Or it may be a case of actually I cut it off here, or I cut it off here and go, no, I'm happy. I think this is a good structure that works. Let's run it from a Monday to whenever it is I get paid. I don't know. I just know that I was making my life harder than it needed to be, basically. And budgeting is hard enough without purposely making it more difficult. Now, I've plotted some numbers in, and let's talk about my wages before we talk about the focus. Now, I am moving up the teacher pay scale to M2, and I'm also in receipt of a 4% pay rise as a public sector worker. This is reflective, and this is a £60 increase per month, which is reflective of the fact that I have received the 4% pay rise. My moving up the teacher scale, which is another 80 to 100 and something pounds a month, potentially, depending on my maths and the actual correct calculation, that won't get paid to me until November, and it will be paid 2 months in arrears. So what had happened last year was the 4% or the 5.5% pay rise last year was paid in November in arrears, and obviously it was my first teaching job, so there was no pay rise for me. I went straight in at that wage. This year they've done it differently. They know obviously that they've got to pay a public sector pay worker pay rise, and that is going in at the end of September, reflective of the correct start date. Then the M2 pay scale increase is coming in from November, and that will be reflected in the end of November's pay. So not this one, not the one after, but the one after that, so 3-day paydays time. And obviously that will have a slightly larger amount. I won't obviously receive all of that slightly larger amount because the tax is worked out based on the fact that, it's backdated as well. I don't know enough about that to talk about it in detail. It does mean that if I look at my snowball and the way I was going to break that down, obviously I was looking at potentially an extra £100 a month kicking in from the end of this month. At the minute it's 60, but I have done quite well in paying extra towards debt, and we're just going to see how we get on. Before we get to the numbers themselves, let's go to a focus, and I like to give myself a weekly focus so that I can come back each time and go, what is it I'm meant to be doing? Now I need to continue with my minimum listing target, and that is 5 on eBay and 20 on Vinted per day. But indeed, after filming this, I'm just going to sit there and set up a load of draft listings, so that is done. And then I just have to go through and activate per day. So I've got to continue the minimum listings per day, and I'm going to make that my priority, is get minimum listings done, and try and push obviously for more if I can to get that extra income in. And this is running from the 29th to the 5th. There we go. Other budget categories will go in here, things like Vinted, anything I sell on Facebook Marketplace, potentially any rollovers, etc. But I will fill those in. Obviously, I know what I'm getting from my wages, therefore that's the actual amount, and it's a £60 a month increase. The bills that I've got that are coming out, there's rent at £9.50, council tax at £136, union fees at £8, Wi-Fi at £35, and that's obviously newly starting, mobile at £4, car tax at £17.50, car insurance at £70, water is £50, and all these are rounded up. Energy at £136.50 because they have recalculated my usage. Wonderful. Google storage at £2.50, Now TV at £5, YouTube at £13, and content insurance at £7.50. So how much is that? Because there's a couple of extra things on there. So for perspective, just for my council tax, and that is, I do get the 25% single person discount. I live in a high cost of living area. Like, that's not coming down. I don't have a choice about whether I pay that or not. It's essentially just shy of £1,100 for my 4 walls. So we're already seeing that the maths is going to start to get really sticky. The union fees are utterly invaluable and are not even a point of discussion. So don't even try in the comments. Water is £50. Again, I have no choice over who my water provider is. I'm stuck with them. And my 2 quote-unquote social subscriptions are my Now TV and my YouTube at less than £20 a month. And I will fight to keep hold of them unless things are utterly dire. And utterly dire means that I'm incapable physically of bringing in extra money, nor can I work to my normal job. I might as well put that there. So please don't tell me to cancel any of those either. Now, if you were around last month, if you've been around for a while, you'll know that we are fully expecting this budget to run into a minus. The reason why I let it run into minus is because it tells me how much I need to generate for this week. And the majority of my bills should be going out this week. If they don't, I think I've moved them all, but there might be the odd stray one that hasn't caught up with me moving them yet. I've got 2 savings categories that are kind of priority 1 and 2 for savings, and that is vets, and the budget for that is 300. I'm not expecting to save the full 300, but I'm putting that in there. And then I have Christmas, because I have, apart from buying 1 Christmas present, not much. And that is 600. So I am not going to include these in my rollover amount. They are there for me to indicate, to see if at the end of the week, is there possibly anything I can put towards my savings at all. If there's not, and I have to put a little dash to say there's nothing I can't, I'll carry it forward to next week and see how it gets on. So my rollover at the minute is 557.50, and my categories for flexible expenses are food, fuel, cat food, cat meds. I have household, which is things like cleaning supplies, toiletries, because I have them separate to food. I know some people bundle everything in together. I like having that distinction because it allows me to accurately track whether that is a significant increase in, and do I need to amend that. It tends to average out at about £20 a month. and that's for a full gamut from shampoo to scourers to feminine hygiene products. So I've got that there as well, and that's a catch-all category. I do need to pay my share of the work Christmas meal, and that is £14.50, and that is just the deposit. There will be later fees for me to pay nearer the time, so someone has already paid out for that, so in a sense I owe them that money because they bulk booked they did the booking, so I can't not pay that. So that's going to have to go in. My personal spending, which I do try and give myself, even when things are bad, even if it's just £10 a week, but I try and average. I'm going to put this up ever so slightly to £30, and that's reflective of costs going up. What I have sometimes done in the past is given myself my entire personal spending allocation of if it's a 5-week month, it would be 125, so £25 a week. What I've done in the past is given myself my entire amount at the start of the month and gone, there's the 125, do what you want with it, girl. I'll try and see. I've got 125 overall to play with, spread across the month, and so I'm going to take 30 of it in this first week and see how I get on. Cat meds are going to be expensive this month because he needs more thyroid medication. That's £100, I think. Costs have probably gone up since we've last ordered it, so whack £100 in and hope for the best. And then I've not really done anything on his food this week. I've bought him one box just to tide us over because I got busy. So he needs a good stock up on food. I need a good stock up of petrol, and I'm going to put 30. And then food, oh, how much should you spend on food? Because I feel like you settle on something and then it goes up again, and it has massively gone up. I don't want to. I'm putting 50 and I don't even know if that's enough. Yes, I do batch cook. Yes, I cook from scratch. Yes, I have reduced my meat intake. Yes, I've reduced my treat intake. Yes, I've reduced my goodie intake. I'm doing all the things, and it still feels like you're not getting anywhere with it. Does anyone else feel like that? So my most popular video, I think we're on about 25,000 views, is when I went round Aldi, and it would have been October 2022 or October 2023. It's either 2 or 3 years old now, that video, and it still gets views, and it still earns me a little bit of money each month, and which is mad. And it was me, and I was doing the £100 budget grocery challenge, which is what Gillian budgets. I don't think she still runs it, but has run in the past. And it's where you have 100 for the month, and it's designed for if you are needing to do a pantry eat out or a pantry cook out or eating out your freezer, and then obviously you have £100 to kind of top up to make more meals with. And I think I went round. I'd be very tempted if I had the money, because I don't think the price increases had really gotten. I think they were starting to happen, but they weren't at the level they were now. I'd be really intrigued if I had £100 to go round and do that again as a 3 years on. We'll see what happens with the budget. Maybe it happens. But where I've been eating down my own freezer and topping everything up with my own pantry and doing that, because I do maintain a pantry, so I never let myself get down to zero. There's definitely less, shall we say, to spread out. Anyway, my costs for the week at the minute are £269.50, I think, or I've missed something. That feels too small. Why does that feel small? No, okay. It feels small, but I think that's because obviously in the past I have given myself slightly larger amounts to front load the month. I may still go ahead and do that in the end, but for now I'm just playing with where the week is going. What I'm finding is because of my working pattern and my working hours, I'm not getting the chance to hop around and go to different shop around for the cheapest and do kind of like a supermarket shopping route. I'm just kind of having to hit one from a time perspective. Now you're about to see where we dip into the minus. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So once again, we're at the point where the budget says there's no money. Which, yeah, we welcome to my normal, and I go through a month and attempt to fix it and sort it out. First of all, just to re-clarify, okay, if you're around here for a while, this is not a surprise, and there is obviously always solutions to deal with it, and I implement those solutions. If you are new here, your immediate response is going to be, don't take out the personal spending category, take out what you owe someone for Christmas, lower everything else. I will still be in a minus, because this is just for 1 week. So for the next 4 weeks, I still need money for food, I still need money for petrol, still need money for the cat. Even if that was just my 3 core categories, that's still, and if I'm conservative and say £100, that's still £400 I would be minus. So this is the situation I am in. I am court ordered to pay the £350, and I'm going to push ahead and pay. Obviously, I said if I get a pay rise, I have got a pay rise, albeit £60 for a couple of months. I would put that pay rise towards my extra debts and work to get them paid off, and that's what I'm doing. If you want the kind of context and the whys and the wherefores and how I've got to that point, please go back and check over my old videos. I'm not going to rehash that here. If you are in the comments going, but what about, please just jump back and check to my older videos, particularly at the start of September. That will give you all the information. Now, at the minute, I'm minus £103.53 on this week, and that is as a result of, obviously, the debt payments taking me over. Plus, as I've just mentioned, activities, if I have enough money to do them, which at the minute I do not. That's why I schedule them to the end of the month. But this tells me immediately that I need to be bringing in 103.53 to just get myself back to zero. And then if we do go on the conservative estimate of £100 a week for my food, cat food and fuel, also fuel for food for the car basically, I need to be looking at bringing in an extra £503.53 this month as at the bare minimum. On top of that, obviously as well, I've got new tyres to pay for. That's going to be around £300. The conference and the travel, I think with the cost of train tickets now, that's going to be £75. I will get them back at the end of the month, obviously when I submit an expense claims form. The extra cost for the open evening is built into my food budget, so that will just come out as normal. I'll just get a couple of extra bits or cook up a couple of extra things. Obviously my luxury things are the craft fair and the winter fair, and I want to reiterate, I've penciled them in to make a note of them. I have not committed financially anything to going, nor have I committed my time. A friend and I have said it'd be nice to go, let's provisionally put it in and see nearer the time. And it's an indicator for me of how is my budget doing overall, am I able to bring this in. The Warner Brothers tour was the return was booked over the summer with some of the extra money that I brought in, and well before my court said you had to pay £350 a month. So obviously those tickets are paid for, but you can go round and not spend money in the gift shop. You don't have to. I have done that in the past. You can take food and beverages with you, and apart from my third of a share of petrol, which will be 15-20 quid max, that is still something which is affordable. And if I can't find an extra £20 on top of that over the course of the 5 weeks, there's a problem. Realistically, the bigger problem is, I think if I wanted to be able to have a bit of money to spend here and here and here and do the activities that kind of makes life a bit more normal and bearable, then I would need about 1,000. So I'm looking at potentially needing to bring in 200 a week on average. through various means. It's not impossible. It's not the easiest. Okay, I've got quite a lot of work to do. I'm going to call it here because I feel like that's a natural point. I'm now going to go away and work out, now that I've actually done the numbers, how I'm going to bring in that 1,000 or 200 a week. I think the minimum listings plus any extra I can do a day are a significant help. And hopefully, as we're starting Q4 into the whole kind of shopping retail side of things, people will be picking up spending, ideally, even though I know that times are tough, clearly. I will therefore love you and leave you, and I'll be back tomorrow with a reconciliation for this last week, although it's not really a week, of September, and a chat about how September's gone, the kind of where if I feel I've fallen down, where I've fallen down and run into issues, what have been the successes. Obviously I've paid a lot to debt, and that's a massive success within itself, and that we're going to chat about that in that video. We're not going to talk about that in this one. I hope you have a fantastic budgeting week wherever you are in the world. Happy Sunday, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye for now.